and welcome. It is time for the brand new ACCC Buzz. I'm Robert Williamson, and right there on the other side of the screen is Dean Myrick, the Commissioner of the ACCC. How you doing, Dean?
I am doing well. A little bit of cabin fever, but otherwise healthy and looking to get back to normal.
Hey, that's the key right now, staying healthy. Let's talk about the Buzz. What prompted and what's the kind of the mindset behind the ACCC Buzz?
Well, we are trying to keep our followers, fans, student athletes engaged. We don't want to be forgotten, so we're doing all we can to keep our name out there. We're as far as showing games every day and going back through the archives and just keeping the conference on people's minds, and that way when we get back to normal and playing, we just pick up where we left off.
Today,
but it also provides do what?
Go right ahead.
It just provides with interviews and all that, an inside look at different areas, whether it's from a student or an AD or maybe even a president. Just gives people a different viewpoint from different people.
Speaking of presidents and ADs, got a president and an AD as our special guest today. Tell us about the president of Snead State, Robert Exley, and the AD at MARION Military, Dr. Michelle Ivey.
Dr. Exley is, as you said, president at Snead State up in Boaz. He is also the chair of our conference executive committee, which is made up of 5 presidents representing the other 16. So we have 21 as a whole. So I report to him as far as day-to-day issues that may come up. He also serves as part of the AJCA Presidential Advisory Council. This is his second term on that, and he sits on the board of regents. Also includes myself and Dr. Ivey, who you just mentioned. So Dr. Exley is very athletic-minded and a great supporter of the conference and athletics as a whole. Dr. Ivey, she's the athletic director at MARION Military. I believe she's been there, and you may know, close to 20 years. She may have said that on an interview, but she's been a great help to me. She also serves as the Region 22 Women's Director, so I lean on her a lot for assistance. She's a great representative of the conference on different committees throughout the country, and really represents us well. She also serves, as I said, on the Board of Regents with Dr. Exley and myself. So Alabama is really well represented from a national standpoint.
Our conversation with Dr. Robert Exley and Dr. Michelle Ivey in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at the players of the week for the last week of the ACCC. Dean, tell us about Kenzie Bayer, the softball player from Southern Union.
She had a great week that week. Actually, the week before, I guess, with 3 home runs. Had a good, great batting average. So she was having a really good year, and was only getting better until, unfortunately, the seasons came to an end. So softball was definitely shaping up to be a very, very good year.
A couple of baseball players recognized as well. Pitcher of the week was Eric Toth from Coastal Alabama South.
Eric had a good week on the mound. Won his only start, but he also hit 444 for that week. So he got pitcher of the week, but he was a great two-way player from the mound and from the plate.
And for baseball's player of the week, it was out of Calhoun, Chance Childers.
Yep, Chance hit about 500 for that week, and Calhoun was starting to get better, and they struggled a little bit offensively at the beginning, but were starting to find their stride, and again until the season unfortunately came to an end.
So congratulations to Chance, Eric, and Kenzie, the ACCC Players of the Week for the last week of regular season baseball and softball. Our conversations with Dr. Exley and Dr. Ivey when we return. Just about all white Jones County. Diving catch at shortstop. Gross. Towards the gap. Diving catch in center field by Ben Aklinski. There is a shot towards deep short. Perhaps got it. Long throw over, and he got it. We are honored to have as our guest Dr. Robert Exley, who is the president of Snead State Community College. Dr. Exley, I know school is out, but it's very busy for you, so thank you very much for the opportunity to chat.
I appreciate it very much, Robert. It's always a joy to be able to visit with you and JockJive, and we are really in a very surreal environment right now, and so I'm more than willing to share our experiences however you need.
I've got to ask this question, and it seemingly is a question that I pose to everybody I talk to, but these are such unique circumstances that do not have a blueprint. There is nothing really that you can follow for these circumstances. Does it have a feel of kind of treading water with your eyes closed?
Well, the thing that's most challenging clearly is from an athletic standpoint, there's nobody here. There's no access to any of our facilities. We've taken super extreme cautions to be safe. And we are in touch with everyone on regular basis. I know that our AD talks to our head coaches and our assistant coaches regularly. They reach out in different ways to our athletes, everything from text messages to probably video chats and stuff. So we are keeping track. But, I live on campus. They have a house with the president, which is quite a blessing. And so I walk across the street, come here into my office, and I work. The difference is that I'm on calls like this or the telephone with conference calls nonstop all day. Every day I come over about 7:30 and I say, I'm going to go home early today, and I still stay till about 5:30 or 6 because there's always stuff to do. So from the standpoint of constantly being in touch with everybody throughout the campus, have a great team, incredible executive team. We meet by video conference calls, teleconference calls daily. They give me updates. They reach out to all their folks. We've not missed a beat instructionally. We have a long history at this school of being great with online education. So it was very easy to transition over. But for the students, the big challenge is can they make that adjustment technology-wise in the sense of do they have good internet access? Mm-hmm. We're a rural school. Do they have the right equipment to make that work? Surprisingly, many of our students already have the proper kind of computer stuff. It's just the internet access and the broadband. But they can come drive, and some of them do, sit in the parking lot and access our Wi-Fi hotspots. So things are happening. It's just extremely stressful to walk around campus like I did earlier today. And I took a whole bunch of photos, and it's just like everything's empty. The dorms are empty, and we got everybody moved out and back home. We're in the process of refunding them for the rest of the semester because we're not going to be able to come back with students for the rest of this semester for sure. And we're hoping everything will work for summer. So yeah, it's a little bit like making the road as you walk it.
Those students that were in the midst of classes and actually attending, not online students, those who were going to class physically, did they finish the courses that they were participating in online, or what has been the process for them?
For us, we've had a what's called Blackboard learning management system that you use regardless of whether it's an online course or not. And that's where all of the course content's available, all of the lecture series. So the students that were in a face-to-face class, we transitioned them immediately over to online classes. And we had about a 2-week break for spring break and a little bit of prep time for those students. But to be honest with you, they were used to, the majority of them, going on to that Blackboard website and communicating. That's where they check their grades, where they do a lot of exams. And so the transition was not nearly as tough in our normal transfer courses. Bigger challenges in things like our FAA, airframe and power plant program, which is run very tightly by the FAA with required lab hours. So we just suspended that program till we can get the students back on campus. Nursing and health careers, we're working with the boards of nursing and elsewhere to determine how we're going to meet all the clinical hours. And so for career tech, it's been a much greater challenge. For those students who are just in traditional liberal arts gen ed classes, it's been a much easier transition. But we've let them know, and their faculty actually use Blackboard Collaborate to set up what's called a synchronous real-time like this with you and me with the whole class at the normal time they would be meeting face-to-face.
So there has been this improv, and so in the really disaster that we're in, coronavirus, there is some silver lining, though, some things that have been streamlined, some things that have been perfected that will be beneficial in the future.
I believe so. I think the whole field of higher education is going to have to face some evolution that they weren't wanting to go to. Like I said, the college here, we already had 100% of our programs of study online completely. So we were very comfortable with it. 100% of our faculty members teach online already. So probably in the summer, we'd have 90% of our course credit hours online. In the regular term, about 55%. So it was not a big transition for us. Most of our students take a combination of face-to-face classes. They take what are called blended classes, where they'll do the content through online, and they're flipped. They'll only come on campus for labs, that sort of thing. So the technology of teaching instructionally online is nothing new. Where we've really had to ramp it up was in the student services area to make sure every single thing that we do face-to-face is available for them, whether that's admissions or financial aid, disability services, whatever it is.
What kind of staff do you have on campus? Is it a large staff? And I know everybody is practicing these social distancing measures, but are you the staff? Currently?
Pretty much, I'm the staff. We did immediately get our IT department meeting with about 30 different employees that could work from home, but needed to be outfitted with laptops and VPNs and all the correct stuff to do that. But any given day, it's probably a skeleton staff of 2 to 3 custodial. Well, custodial is we've moved it to the second shift, so they're not even here in the daytime. But 2 to 3 maintenance guys, one person at a time coming into the business office. Most all of the student services folks are 100% working from home. And then in the administration building and classroom building I'm in, it's usually me. And so it's very, very, very different. You're right. We have contracted out things like yard work and stuff, so that's being taken care of. Actually have a major construction project, a building renovation, and the contractors are continuing to work. But other than that, it's very vacant. I mean, I took a bunch of pictures earlier walking around, and every parking lot's empty, long sidewalks, pictures of the softball field from the berm out behind looking in, and it's just empty bleachers. It's very sad.
Indeed. I have read stories where there is a fear that this is going to lead to a decline in enrollment in colleges at the end of this dilemma, not only from the standpoint of the logistics, but the finances as well. I mean, is that being talked about and how to deal with that?
Well, we've run different scenarios. One of the worst case scenarios that we've been trying to anticipate, and I don't see this happening, but it's something you start with, is worst case would be 0 revenues and 0 classes this summer. That would have a mega impact on us. Historically, in 2-year colleges, as you know, when the economy falters, enrollments go up when people lose jobs. So we could have the opposite. We could have greater needs to provide help for people to try to transition to new jobs. But short term, I think we're all a little nervous.
Where the summer school is concerned, when does the semester start? Is that in May?
For us, our summer session starts the day after Memorial Day every summer, and we have summers 12 weeks. So you have 2 sessions that are 6 weeks each and one 12-week session. So we actually started enrolling and registration for that yesterday, and it's down about 20% from what we'd normally see on the first day. But there's so much uncertainty with all the high schools closed and everything else. Now we service a lot of university students as on campus. Online in the summer. So, for example, Auburn University usually has a couple hundred students taking online courses from us because we're so much less expensive, and they're high quality courses that are hard to find instructors. You want to teach physics? We need a physics instructor.
Yeah, I would love to teach physics. I'm certainly nowhere close to qualified, but
So I'm a little nervous about our summer because it's a significant part of our revenues.
You mentioned being prepared for the summer. What is the date in which you really need something to be clarified at a national level, I guess, or a state level, for you to move forward with summer school?
Well, we're moving forward with summer school as if it's going to be only online. So we're not slowing down a bit. And like I said, last year, 90% of our credit hours were from those students in online courses only. So I'm not so worried about the summer as trying to be prepared for the fall. I was looking at some projected data earlier, and it says that the projected peak of the demand on healthcare beds is for Alabama is April 20th. So that should be a marker. If we're not seeing some significant flattening of that curve, it's going to be scary.
If you look at and you bring up the campus and the fact that it's vacant currently, and if you look at the hotbeds in the United States, New York City being one of those, I hear Governor Cuomo mentioning that he has approached some of the colleges about space. Is long haul, has that ever been mentioned as a possibility or discussed?
For us, not yet. The history of Snead's fascinating. This college was founded in 1898. And way back in the early 1900s, they closed the dorm and turned it into a hospital for a cholera outbreak. So historically, this college has done whatever the community needs. When I first arrived about 12 years ago, we had to open a shelter for evacuees from New Orleans and Louisiana for Hurricane Gustav. We hosted them, but that was just for about 5-6 days, but there were about 300 of them. So I don't think anyone's officially asked us to do that yet. Our dorm is very small. We only have about 94 spaces in the dorm, so that's with multiple people in a room. So we wouldn't be able to accommodate much. If we needed to, we would do what we could.
Dr. Robert Exley, I appreciate so much you taking time out of that busy schedule. It wasn't supposed to be so busy, but it has been for you to chat with us. And you and the family doing fine, though, right? Healthy-wise?
We're fine. Anita and I live here in Boaz. We have family from Washington State to Orlando, Florida, and just about everywhere in between. And they're all doing well. Everybody is doing what we have to do as far as just hunkering down and minimizing, contact outside of the home. I'm an extrovert pretty much. So, it's driving me a little crazy. But what I really miss is hearing the baseballs cracking off the bats, hearing the softballs, and seeing the students, running the campus, because we're a beautiful campus, about 40 acres, 45 acres in a community. And it's very picturesque. Looks like a small 2-year liberal arts school, and baseball and softball fields are back to back. You can stand out on the porch of a historic building and overlook the fields. And so I'm really missing hearing those athletes out there.
Hey, we are as well.
It's tough for them, I can guarantee you. Plug in for the Parsons. Our baseball team was off to a 15-3 start. Best ever in the history of the college, and was looking forward to just a really competitive year. And my heart hurts for all those kids and the coaches who put so much time and effort in. And we can give them an extended third year, but it's not the same. As you know, that particular team won't be together again, most likely. And that's just not just for us, every level, high school through pros. This is a very, very heartbreaking time for people's dreams. That kind of pales when you're talking about people losing their lives, but it's a hard time for us.
It is painful, and kudos, though, to the great job they were doing and have done. And I, by the way, have got to say thank you very much to you. And, you got a pretty good little AD in Mark Richard as well, that anytime I'm coming to Snead State for a game, he is more than helpful and cooperative, and we really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate it very much. And Robert, let me know whatever I can do anytime in the future. We're more than willing to. We appreciate your support.
Just about all White Jones County. Diving catch at shortstop. Gross. Towards the gap. Diving catch in center field by Ben Aklinski. There is a shot towards deep short. Kraft's got it. Long throw over, and he got it. Thanks so much to Dr. Michelle Ivey for being with us today. Dr. Ivey is the athletic director at MARION Military Institute. Dr. Ivey, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to get out of the house a little bit.
It is unique times in which we live. The new normal is very unnormal or abnormal, that's for sure. Let's talk about what has influenced that. Obviously, it is the coronavirus, and it certainly changed the way everybody does things, and I'm sure that's true at MARION Military and your athletic department as well.
Right. All of our students are off campus right now, obviously including our student athletes. Our coaches are working predominantly from home. Some of them come in to cut grass, things like that, but so recruiting has totally changed, and how, there's no in-person or person-to-person contact right now with recruiting. So they're going stir crazy. They're staying in contact with all of our student athletes, obviously try to help with any remote academic resources, kind of just checking in to make sure everything's going well. We've gone to all remote distance learning through the remainder of the semester. So they're just trying to, figure out this new normal and kind of try to plan for next semester as best we can right now.
How do you cope with a new normal where there is no blueprint? I mean, there is no guidelines to follow because nothing like this has ever happened, at least in our time.
That's right. And I think that's probably the hardest part of all this is we don't know what to expect. We don't know what it's going to look like a month from now. We're actually talking about August. I mean, are we going to be able to start on time in the fall? How does that look like for our student athletes? How does that look like for our coaches, our academic classes? And there's just so much we don't know right now. And I think that's the hardest part for the coaches and for myself is when you're in athletics, you always have a plan, whether it's recruiting, training, playing, scouting, there's always a plan in place. And right now there is no plan, and we just don't know what to expect next week, a month from now, 3 months from now. And I think that's the hardest part of all of this.
And I realize that where the coronavirus is concerned, the health of the athlete or the student or the employee, the health period is the primary concern. But in the back of your mind, I mean, you got to think a little bit about finances and the argument, I guess, where the income to an athletic department is concerned is you don't have the expenses you would have had. On the other hand, you don't have the income. I mean, do they balance off one another, and what impact does this have on the financial arrangement or situation of an athletic department?
Well, for junior college athletics, especially here, Marion, there's not a lot of income. There's not a lot of gate receipts, concessions. So that's very minimal. Obviously, we are talking budgets, statewide, conference-wide, and I know other regions have started talking about, what are there is proration coming? Are budget cuts coming? We've heard from other regions within the NJCA that they're looking at making cuts to the budget. The state of Alabama is in pretty good shape right now from what we hear. So although we've been told to kind of limit our expenses, for the next month or 2 months to make sure we know where we stand. So yeah, that's on everybody's mind, just because we don't know what's coming, and the revenue coming in from summer school and everything else for all these other 2-year colleges is just not, may not be there. Enrollment numbers, we just don't know. That's the big question. You just don't know right now how long this is going to last. And so, yeah, budgets are being talked about right now. And, even though expenses aren't going out and I have, money left over in my budget, I'm being told, to back off and not use it, just in case, that there is some cuts and we can survive through the summer.
What about the communication with the athletes? I mean, is there still a constant line of communication between the athletic department and the athlete that is a part of the program there? Or are they, I don't want to say they're treated like any other student, but what is that line of communication?
All of our coaches have been in contact with our student athletes, minimum contact 1 time per week. We've got some sports that the student athlete has to check in, text, group chat with one of the coaches twice a week. But yeah, the coaches have been really good about contacting them to make sure really that academically that they're going to be successful. If they need tutoring, are they having problems connecting to online? Are they keeping up with their assignments? Are they having any issues? So it's been really great for the coaches. Campus-wide, we've got what is called Call a Cadet campaign going on. So all of our students are being contacted by somebody on campus. It's just that our coaches, it's pretty typical, that our coaches are, they're invested in these young people's lives. So they've maintained contact. I can't maintain contact with the coaches pretty much on a daily or every other day basis, just checking in. How's recruiting going? Have we heard from anybody? Do we have any issues with classes? Are they keeping up with their assignments? Some are even doing grade checks. So the coaches have been awesome, even though they're stir crazy right now, but they've been really great about staying in contact with their student athletes and kind of getting them motivated. Some have sent home workouts, to get them motivated for the fall. But yeah, it's been very different, especially for spring sports. But they've been awesome about staying in contact with their athletes.
What kind of staff do you have there at the school typically now? I mean, is there a staff or is everybody working from home?
Most are working from home. Like I said, my husband is the academic dean and chief academic officer, so he's been coming in pretty much every day. Our president is here every day. We have like our business office manager. I think she comes in most days. So it's very limited. My coaches predominantly are working from home. I think some of them come in 1 to twice a week just to check mailbox, softball, baseball, cutting grass. Our golf course maintenance are coming in, 2 or 3 times a week just to maintain the golf course, but it's closed. So it's very limited who's on campus. It looks pretty lonesome out there when you walk around.
Well, Dr. Ivey, I want to say thanks so much for talking with us. I know you and I typically, when we talk, it's either from across a gym. I see you on the other side of a gymnasium floor.
It is. It's very odd that we're not at a region tournament somewhere coming up or getting prepared for a region tournament. It's just, yeah. It's a strange March and April.
Well, and of course, after the tournament, going to a Mexican restaurant and getting
Oh,
some
sure.
burritos or fajitas or whatever.
That's right.
But it's great talking with you. We're hoping we're out of this new normal quickly and back to, I guess, in the fall, it would be basketball starting next for
Right.
MMI. But we're looking forward to that. Thanks so much for being our guest.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks so much to Dr. Robert Exley and Dr. Michelle Ivey for being our guest here on the debut edition of ACCC Buzz. Dean, great first show, and it's my understanding that we're going to be talking not only with presidents and ADs, but we're going to be talking with coaches and students throughout the course of this every week program.
Well, as you can see, it will give our followers a great inside perspective from all levels. So hopefully next week we can dive into how the shutdown and the postponement of athletics is affecting, not only student athletes, but, coaches as well, as far as recruiting and working out. And it'll be very interesting and, to hear that perspective. It's from the day-to-day dealings of what's going on.
By the way, for our viewers as well, JockJive Live will also feature a conversation with Dean Myrick in a week or so. So we're going to have multiple looks at the Alabama Community College Conference here on JockJive and on the ACCC Sports Network. Dean Myrick, Commissioner of the ACCC, thanks so much for being our co-host. You're adding another duty to your many tasks with the conference.
Hey, whatever we can do to keep things going and keep our followers informed, and we'll get through all this and be strong, back stronger than ever in the fall.
Dean Myrick, the Commissioner of the ACCC. I'm Robert Williamson. James Crenshaw has been your producer for the program. It is called the ACCC Buzz. So long, everybody.